We will not use our cell phones. We won't grade papers. We're only going to express positive and constructive comments. We will be attentive and participate, be respectful of others. Department chairs will send a representative unable to attend. We'll record the meetings and a link will be sent out to the faculty and staff. Department chairs will meet with their respective departments after the advisory meeting. And the last one, we will rotate department chairs every 2 years.
Well, you know, I know we'll go get started. The biggest thing is, for me, I really don't have anything other than to explain what I meant yesterday as far as how I was thinking about over the spring break and thinking about things that we have no control of and things that we do have control of. And with everybody's concern over the student growth rate and the way in this new evaluation how it's going to affect us. And I can remember what started my wheels to turn over spring break is when we passed out the pamphlet, and a lot of us went ahead and started looking, and bringing it back up and saying, well, I'm needs development no matter what I do on, one half, I'm already needs development. So in thinking along those lines, for me, my evaluation, 70-some% of my evaluation is on student growth. But for me, if my SLO teachers, talking school-wide, if my SLO teachers do pretty good on a test that the students know they created, then if my milestone dips like all the data is saying it should dip, at least I have SLOs to kind of balance me a little bit. So in thinking about that, I was thinking, well, why can't we do that where we can school-wide and give everybody an opportunity to have something to balance it against, and also spread the thing out? Because if I've got a teacher that has 7 or 6 classes that require a milestone, and then I have one class that may not have an SLO or have an SLO, most likely may not have an SLO, and I've got the same teacher in that department with the same certification that has 3 SLOs and then 3 classes with no SLO or no milestone, then that's not balanced. So where we can, and I'll say it again, where we can, this is just my thinking when we start getting the projections, when y'all start plugging in classes, I just want you to kind of think along those lines and shuffle classes where you can, where there's a milestone to counteract there's an SLO to counteract the milestone. And that's kind of what I was talking about yesterday. Just like me and Ms. Seven was just discussing, a good example, without giving any more preps, I got Ms. Moore that teaches physics, and I got her that teach physical science. Well, the physical science has a milestone. The physics don't. So other than just meeting the science requirement for the kids to graduate, as far as Ms. Moore and her personal self, physics don't help her. You see what I'm saying, as far as evaluation? But if we create a physics milestone, SLO, right, SLO, where we know what's on it, we created it, and she give a physics SLO, then if her milestone peaks, great. If it dips a little bit, at least she has that SLO to kind of, give her a little thing. Whereas now, if it's not created, then it's just whatever it is on that one test, her whole part of 50% of her evaluation is based on that. So that's where my thinking was, and that is something that we can control. So just there's no limit on SLOs, there's no limit on how many SLOs we can have. So just create SLOs, there's an SLO bank, just go in that bank and tweak and pull out, and we've already created them. We've already know the mistakes that we've made, and we've already went in, those of us that created them last year, we went in and made those changes based off of what we learned the first time around. So share that with a person that hadn't created it, so they won't make the same mistakes, and make those SLOs to where they will help us as far as our student growth rate is concerned. Now, I know it was concerned about preps. Well, it's not really a prep thing, like as more as creating more SLO tests to plug in. Now, in some instances, there will be maybe somebody who's been teaching all SLOs, or maybe a couple SLOs, and then another class that doesn't have an SLO. Well, if they have the same certification as the person that's been teaching all milestones, then give that person that's been teaching all milestones a little relief and maybe split that thing up. So now the person that's teaching the milestone has an SLO. The person that was teaching all SLOs and maybe a class with nothing has a milestone and an SLO to bounce it off of. So that's kind of what, and I'm sorry that thing got kind of twisted yesterday, but just to clarify, and if you'll clarify back with your department, I wasn't really looking at preps and things like that. I was just looking at, and there are going to be places we can do it, there are going to be places that we can't do it. Because I know science is unless you broad field, if you, whatever your certification is, that's what you have to teach. And it's the same with social studies, everybody's broad field. But if they wasn't, whatever their certification is, that's what they would have to teach. So in certain situations, in math, you know, I may have a geometry person that, listen, I want all geometry, or I just enjoy what I'm doing. But, and where it would fit is make an SLO where we can make it fit. But just try to, organizational wise, just try to spread this thing out. So, you know, for many years with the No Child Left Behind, whether your school was a passing school depended on science, math, social studies, and English. Depended on those 4 subjects for 20-some years. And we got other subjects that really, the biggest thing was just, just getting it, their biggest thing was getting the kids passed, successful, and whatever. But we had 4 departments that basically, if they didn't get what they needed, they felt the whole load. And what I was thinking about that is trying to not make that happen, even though we have more people and everybody has SLOs, but it still can be fixed a little bit to make it a little more equitable where we can do it. So that's what I was saying yesterday. That's kind of where my thinking is. Projections are about to come out. So as you're looking at your projections and you plugging people in, I just want you to think in that frame of mind. Okay?
All right, I have a question.
Okay.
Mr. Paz asked me today, okay, if he has American Lit, which has a milestone,
Right.
and he teaches AP Lit with his AP test, he's going to need to teach another class that has an SLO.
Well, did he come see? Because he was talking to see if there was an AP, I don't know if it's an AP SLO.
He was just asking me, were we going to have to do...
I don't think that there are any AP SLOs.
There's not.
The only thing that I could think of that we could do, well, I don't know, those come from the state. They have to be approved by the state, right? So it's not like we could go into the biology SLOs and pick the higher questions for AP biology. We couldn't do that, could we?
I'm not even sure we're allowed to have an AP anything SLO.
Well, and in his case, that might be a situation where it doesn't fit.
That's all we were trying to figure out was
Now,
when we do projections.
AP does help us. The pass rate of AP does help us on CCRP.
Yeah.
So we do need to increase the number of kids passing AP exams, because it will help us there.
Yeah, that helps us a lot,
thought
yeah,
they took
but it
that
does
out.
not,
I thought it was still there.
but it does not count, it does not count.
Yeah, just double check, because I thought when we looked, we said that they took, I thought they
I know
took
they made a
AP
few
out
adjustments
I'll
on
check.
that.
and added physics,
That's right, because we added a
but they
physics
took the
class.
whole AP thing out,
Oh.
I thought.
Yeah,
I'll
check
look.
that. But I know that in his, he teaches American,
He teaches American Lit, which has a milestone, and then he has the AP.
Right.
He has ninth grade honors too.
ninth grade honors, what? I mean, and it has a milestone.
It has a milestone as well. But if he was just saying, for example, if he didn't teach ninth grade, does he not need to teach ninth grade honors? Because now he's going to need to teach something to SLO.
Well,
That's what they were asking.
But what happens is, really in your ninth grade honors and your AP, you know, you're not really gonna have a problem with growth. Now, your growth may not be as a wide margin, but I'm thinking more in lines of the regular, I wouldn't really factor in AP and honors.
Okay.
I was thinking more of the regular ed kids where there is normally a dip, like just your regular ed classes is where I was more thinking in lines of. Because normally your AP and stuff, they pretty much always.
Well, it'll probably change anyway, because like if Miss Brown teaches 11th grade, she has 11th grade all day. So she'll have to teach, like would have to take some of that though to lighten her load.
See, like
basically.
something like that, where.
She has the basic reading and the communication skills, and she has the AP, I mean not the AP, but the American Lit.
Right.
So she has milestone accountability all
Right.
day. So
And-
we would need to
and
take
my-
that.
Well, and this is gonna take some thought. I
Yeah, it's
just
gonna
can't
be-
sit there, because it's gonna take some thought. But what you have to do is you have to look at your whole department,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to look at, now I may have some teachers say, don't worry about it.
Yeah, like Denise.
See, that was
Yeah,
what
I'd
had
rather
happened
teach-
She won't.
because
Yeah.
they had already sent me what they wanted to teach, but based on what they want to teach, it's not fitting the SLO milestone. So they were like, "Whoa, do we need to go back and change that?"
Well, and my thing is, this is just something that I'm saying
Will help.
that
help
will
us.
help
To
you.
help us.
I'm not going
Okay.
to cram but if I'm a milestone teacher all day long, and I'm teaching basically our regular ed students, that's you know, when I start talking my growth percentage being 50%, I need some relief. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Now
I see what you're
it may be a teaching department. It's more important for them to teach 11th grade. And if they say,
What they're
listen,
going to have to decide is, do they want more preps and
Well, it's
to
not
help with their
necessarily-
accountability?
well,
It is going, yeah.
well, it'll. If I'm teaching all 11th grade,
Uh-huh.
and then when you're talking about a prep, it's gonna be one
That's what I'm
prep,
saying,
basically.
yeah. And if she
So
wants
that's two
SLO
prep.
relief, then she's going to have to add a prep.
That's two
And if
preps.
one of us picks up one of hers, then that's going to add another prep too.
Right.
Okay. That's
But when you're talking about prep, 1, 2, I got people in this building that has 4 preps. You know, it just depends on what's going on. I got some that got 5. It just depends on what's going on. But what you have to weigh is, is it worth me going from 1 to 2 preps? That when my student growth model
That's
comes
what I'm
out, it puts me in a needs improvement thing, and then the state says I have to go on a professional development plan. So then when you go on a professional development plan, it's going to automatically make you have to do all these things to meet the requirements of your professional development plan. Me, I'll take the 1 more prep, and then that way it'll balance out. And the only reason I thought about this, because that's what happens with me as the principal. When I go in, all of the data, all of the student growth applies to me. So, and Audrey and I, when this thing first started, Audrey and I was having this conversation, and it didn't hit me till spring break, but at the beginning of the year, I was telling Audrey, I said, now, for me, if my SLOs is where they're supposed to be, then I do get a little relief. But then in thinking about that, why can't we do that for everybody where it's possible? Again, where it's possible. Now, you may have an 11th grade lit teacher to say, I'm fine. You know, I'm fine. I'm not gonna certainly, you know, you may have a teacher say, I'm good. I'll just take whatever.